It's been a while since I last posted a video, and now that spring is here, I wanted to take you on a tour and show you all the changes and give you an update on the backyard orchard so you can see how it's doing. I'll start over here with this one here, my star fruit. I recently had a viewer comment and ask what variety this was, and I wasn't exactly sure, and I did a little bit more research and found out that this is an Arkan variety. Doing well, putting on new growth. Uh, didn't get a fruit set off of it last season. I don't think it likes this corner. It gets a little too windy here for it, so I'm going to be moving it towards the patio to see if it does any better. Next is this Pakistan mulberry that I have growing in a large container. It recently came out of dormancy and is starting to produce some fruit. It's got some nice healthy leaves, and there's a small amount of fruit that's starting to develop, and there's a few that are about ready to be picked. This one here is ready, and as you can see, it's good size and it's very sweet flavor. Even growing in a container, it produces a fair amount of fruit. And next, here growing in this half wine barrel, I have a grapevine. It's dormant right now. The green you see there, that's a volunteer Surinam Cherry that came out. I recently got around to putting up this wire to use as a trellis for the grapevine. I'll list the variety on the screen. And over here in the corner, I have a recently planted black pepper plant. And I also planted a few pea vines, and one of them is just starting to flower. They should do well here in the corner. And next, over here, this large container over here, this one here, the wooden container, is my Hass avocado, which was doing well, and then last winter, the leader branch died back quite a bit, and I wound up chopping it down, and this new growth that came out, and it's also put out quite a bit of flower buds, but it's recovering. And over here I have another grapevine. I have a total of 3 that are growing in half wine barrels, and this one is just barely starting to push out some new growth. And next is one of 2 jujubes that I have growing in 20-gallon grow bags, and as you can see, it's starting to push out a good amount of new leaves. I got a heavy set of fruit off of it last season, and if it holds to the same pattern, fruit development, I should have some fruit sets starting somewhere around late July. And over here is the other grapevine that I have. And this one was over in that corner there before, where it didn't get a whole lot of sun, so I decided to move it over here where it gets a lot more sun. So hopefully it should do better this season. In previous years it really hasn't done a whole lot, but it's just starting to put on some leaves, so hopefully I'll get a pretty good amount of grapes off of this one. And Right next to it over here, this is my other Jujube that I have. This one's usually uh, about a week or 2 weeks behind the other one, so it's just barely starting to push out some leaves. And it doesn't produce quite as many as the other variety, but it puts on a fair amount. And over here, up against the wall here, is my Surinam Cherry tree. And this one put on a really heavy set of flowers. It's already done with, pretty much done with the flowering cycle. But as you can see, there's quite a bit of flowers that came out. The whole tree is covered. This is about the heaviest set of blooms that it's ever had. So hopefully I'll get quite a bit of fruit off of this one. I have two more of these that I'll show you in a few, and they don't all flower at the same time. This one started to flower sometime around mid-February. So it should get some fruit within the next month or so. And next is my Australian finger lime, which has a very small amount of fruit coming out, but it's gonna probably flower in a few months. And this one's in a 10-gallon grow bag. And next is my gold nugget loquat. Last season, sometime around mid-May, I harvested its very first fruit set. It wasn't very big, only about 12 or so. Hopefully this year it'll do a little better than that. And next is my soursop that is just starting to recover from the winter. It doesn't really like the cold all that much. And this is a volunteer fig. Don't know what variety it is. And over here is another Surinam cherry tree that I have growing in this corner here. It's put on quite a bit of growth. Hasn't really produced a heavy set of flowers, but it's got a few scattered throughout the tree. And over here in this section, I have two Jaboticaba. This one here is a red dwarf variety that's pushing out quite a bit of growth. I read online that Jaboticabas like companion planting, and it seemed to be holding true, because both of these have put on quite a bit of growth. And this one here, this is a Sabra. This one is just starting to, all this flush of growth here, this is all new growth here. But it's also put on some flower buds. Last season, it put out some flower buds, but it was only one of them reached maturity, and there weren't that many. This season, seems to be a little bit more. It's at the very early stages of development, so hopefully I'll get a lot more. The fruit development off of these is pretty unique. The fruit develops off a trunk and branches of the tree. Here's a close-up of early stages of some flower buds that are starting to emerge. And here's a picture of what the flower looks like when it's in bloom. And next over here, I have two Litchi or lychee trees, however you choose to pronounce it. And these are the Emperor variety, and both of them are pushing out some flower buds. They have a fair amount, some fairly early stages of development, but there's quite a few on both of these that are scattered throughout the tree. Here's the other one. Both trees are still fairly small, so I'll have to keep a close eye on it and make sure if it does set fruit that it's a fairly small crop. And next is my Kohala longan. I haven't had much of a fruit set off of this one. And now that it's coming up on 3 years being planted in the ground, hopefully this season it'll do better. And next is another one of my Surinam cherry trees. It lost quite a bit of leaves during the winter months, but now it's recovered very nicely. It's got some really nice green leaves on it now. And this one produced a real heavy set of fruit last season, and as you can see here, all these seedlings popped up. It produced a whole bunch. I wasn't able to harvest all of them, and I have all these volunteers that came up now. It flowers several times a year, but the heavy fruit set doesn't come till sometime around September. And next to that, I have my burgundy plum tree, which has been in the ground for about 7 years, and in all that time I've never really been able to get it to set a good amount of fruit. I think the most I've ever gotten off this at one time is around 10 or 12, somewhere around there. A few seasons ago I commented in one of my videos that I was getting ready to pull this tree out and put something else in its place, and a viewer suggested that maybe I should try grafting a different variety on there to get some cross-pollination. So this season, that's what I did. This is my first attempt at grafting, so hopefully some of these will take. I have a friend that has a Santa Rosa plum tree, and he was kind enough to give me some cuttings, so I grafted them. These that you see here, that one there was one that I actually purchased online. The rest of these are a different variety. The other ones that I purchased were Satsuma, and I also ordered some more of the Santa Rosa. So between all of these, hopefully some of them will take. They look to be putting on some green, so hopefully they'll take, and I'll be able to get a better fruit set off of it. And next is my LSU purple fig tree. This variety is in certain areas supposedly will put up to 3 crops per season. And these are cuttings that I took off my trees several years ago, which are all doing fairly well. I have them as backup plants just in case anything happens to these that I have in the ground. This is Peter's honey, and in the back I have on the back right, that one over there is an Excel, and the other one next to it is a blackjack fig, that one there. The Peter's honey in the front has a very aggressive growth habit, so I cut it down quite a bit this season in order to give the other two in the back a chance to get a little bit more sun and hopefully put on a little bit more growth. And back here over in this corner are my dragon fruit. I have 5 varieties that I planted about 6 years ago. I'll list the varieties on the screen. Last season I harvested about 13. And just a few months ago I purchased an additional 7 different varieties. So far I've only planted 2 of them. Here they are. That's the dark star is on the right, and the one on the left next to it is the Halley's Comet. I'll probably wait until next season to plant the rest of them. And here in this section, made a couple of changes. There used to be 3 persimmons growing here, but 2 of them died. I don't think they were quite suited for my area, and they wound up dying during the winter months. So I purchased another persimmon and kept it in a grow bag until I decided to transplant it. And this other tree over here on this other side is a Pitomba, which I moved from a different section of my yard, decided to put it here where it'd get more sun. It used to be planted over here, over on this side, right in this area. It never really did very well in that section there. I did manage to get a couple of harvests off of it, but it was being blocked out by the Grumichama that's here and the ice cream bean, so it didn't get too much morning sun. And then the cherry trees over on this side blocked out the afternoon sun. So it had to be moved over to this section over here where it gets plenty of sun, and hopefully it'll do better this season. And this persimmon here, this is actually a gyro fuyu persimmon. This is the one that I purchased to replace the 2 persimmons that I lost during the winter. It should get plenty of morning and afternoon sun, so it should do well in this section. The other persimmon, it's over in the back to the left. That one is a fuyu persimmon, and it's been in the ground for a few years now, and it did pretty well last season, so hopefully this season it'll do good again. And over in this other section next to the persimmons are my mangoes, and 2 of the varieties here have flower buds on them. This one here is a cherry mango that I recently planted, and as you can see, it's doing well. It's got some healthy looking leaves on it. I used to have another mango, same variety cherry that was growing here in this section, but I made the mistake of allowing it to fruit when it was way too young. It wound up setting quite a bit of fruit, and I should have stripped it off, but I made the mistake of leaving it on there, and the tree almost died. I wound up cutting about 3/4 of the leader branch off. I did some research online and found that when a tree is this young and you've had to cut it down that much, it usually results in stunted growth. So I just decided to go ahead and replace the tree. This other one here is a coconut cream mango, and this one is put on quite a bit of panicles. It's never fruited. It's flowered in the previous seasons quite heavily, just like it is this season, but it's never set any fruit. And from research that I did online, it usually takes about 4 or 5 years for these to start fruiting once you put them in the ground. It's been in the ground for about 4 years now, so maybe this season it'll set some fruit. This other one here is a Glen mango, and I got my first harvest off of it last season. It's still a really small tree, so as you can see, it's got quite a bit of panicles on there, which by the way are infested with some type of gray powdery mildew. I'm gonna wind up having to spray it, but if it does manage to set fruit, I'm not gonna allow too many to set. I'll probably just leave maybe 1 or 2 because it's still a pretty small tree. And here are my cherry trees. That's a mini royal on the left and a royal Lee on the right. Both of these trees have done really well. The mini, this one here, usually starts to bloom before the royal Lee, and they're supposed to cross-pollinate with one another, but this one's always about at least a couple of weeks ahead of the other one. So, but they still managed to cross-pollinate, and last season I wound up getting a pretty good harvest off of these trees. These are excellent varieties for a low chill area. I don't get very many chill hours in my area, and these cherry trees produce a pretty good amount of fruit. And next in this section here is where the Pitomba that I just showed you used to be planted. It used to be planted right here, about this area right here. And it didn't do too well because it was getting blocked out, not getting enough sun. That's an ice cream bean tree on the left and a Grumichama on the right. The ice cream bean tree is a very fast-growing tree, and every season I've had to cut this one down. It puts on quite a bit of growth. If I allow it, it'll block out this entire area, so it needs regular pruning. This other one here, the Grumichama, puts on moderate growth. You can see here it's got a fresh new set of leaves, and it just recently flowered, and it's just about done with its flowering cycle. There's still a few flowers on the tree and a few flower buds that have yet to open. This tree does well in my growing zone. I usually get about 2 flowering cycles per season, and last season it did manage to put on a pretty good amount of fruit. If it follows last season's pattern, sometime around July or so, I should be able to have some fruit off the second flowering cycle. And here's my Little Miss Figgy fig tree. It already has some early fruit that has started to develop. Well, that'll be it for this video. I was hoping to get the entire tour on one video, but it's running a bit long, so I'll go ahead and end it here. And I'll be posting part 2 in a few days. So until then, stay safe, grow your own, and thank you for watching.